Okay, here we are with another episode of The Slack Doctors. I am Dr. Chip.
I am Dr. Bob.
And once again, no guest for today, but we do have a promising guest for our next episode, but we'll keep that under our hat for now, just in case he doesn't show up. You never know these days. So do you have any news nuggets?
Nobody knows when it's going to air, so you can always say it, you know.
That's true. That's true. You have any
news? Show up again later. I got a couple of news nuggets for the show today. Things that occurred over the last week that are odd. So I think prior to me reading this story, the furthest north that I was ever aware of alligators existing in the United States was like South Carolina. You know, maybe almost even into North Carolina. But apparently, somebody in Boston found an alligator in the Charles River and rescued it. It was just a little guy, just a tiny little, they think it was under 3 years old. And it was like, they literally weighed it in ounces. But I'm curious as to how it could have gotten there. Current theories are that it, was an escaped pet or that somebody just released it into the wild, because there's never been a case of an alligator making it all the way up to Massachusetts on its own. They've never been spotted that far north. The water is just too cold for him. The temperature is too cold. And I wonder how long he was out there before he was spotted, because I don't imagine they would live in that water for that long at this time of year.
Well, I think the key is you said right off the bat the thing was rescued. So
yeah, I'm sure.
Was that what it said in the story? Rescued?
Yeah, that they rescued it.
Yeah, because that's definitely didn't get there on its own.
Rescue shelter center or whatever.
Yeah, it definitely did not get there on its own. That's for sure. Yeah, no. So that was something. It either got escaped or something.
Now,
like
when I say northern alligators, of course, I'm discounting the sewer gators,
right?
That are rumored to exist in New York and places like that, and
which
all
is
the wonderful
feasible
horror movies that have been made about them.
Right, but that's not that unfeasible. I mean, at least they could conceivably live through the winter down there in the sewers.
They would still have to be released from somebody. There's no way they made it to New York on their own. But
no, probably not.
It is warmer in the tunnels, so maybe.
But Boston, no way, no friggin' way. Especially not swimming around on the Charles River this time of the year. I'm surprised it survived that.
They named him Charles after the river. Although the article went on to state that they don't really know if it's a male or a female, because apparently it's not big enough to be showing whatever sexual dimorphic traits you can spot on an alligator without, getting real friendly with them.
Interesting. Well, my dad's up there. He's a gator. He went to University of Florida. Maybe, no. Yeah,
right.
That's
and
odd.
Here's another story out of Massachusetts. I don't think this one was out of Boston, but apparently they had to stop all the traffic in a tunnel to rescue a dog that was like running across lanes of traffic in a tunnel. And the reason I bring this one up is because it is literally part of one of my worst nightmares about doing road trips. Is I despise tunnels. I'm not a big fan of big bridges either, but I really don't like the tunnels. And my reason is, what do you do if something goes wrong? If there is an accident in a tunnel and everybody has to stop, do you just walk out of the tunnel and wait for it to all get cleared up? Because I have gone through some of these tunnels, in West Virginia and also going to Pennsylvania from Ohio, where even if the traffic slows down, you think, oh, I'm going to, maybe smoke a cigarette or something. You start to roll the window down. The amount of exhaust fumes that come in your window from the tunnel are overwhelming and immediately make you feel like you're suffocating. How long can you sit in a tunnel?
Well, I mean, not that I encounter tunnels that often ever, but to tell you the truth, if something like that happened in a tunnel and I was in my Jeep and say there was a car blocking the way for people to get through, I would just push the car out of the way with my Jeep and just say, look, it's justified. People are going to die. You got to at least clear some room for the emergency stuff to get here. So we have to have the people get out of the way. There's only one way out. That's it. I mean, at some point you got to go, look, we got to do what we got to do. I'm going to push your car out of the way. Sorry. At some point, you just got to do what you got to do.
Some of the ones I've been through, like the one that you enter into West Virginia from Virginia into West Virginia, is pretty narrow. I don't know that there'd be a lot of room to push a car to the side.
What is it, like just 2 lanes?
Really, I can't imagine being stuck in one of those things.
There's no tunnels that are 2-way, right? They're all 1-way, right?
Correct. They are 1-way.
Well, that's not true. There's one in Lauderdale that's 2-way, but it's not very long. It's only maybe 4 or 5 blocks long worth of. But yeah, most any lengthy tunnel is always 1-way. So you're saying there's like some of them that are only like 1 lane?
No, it's 2 lanes, but if
then you can always push something out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, one would hope, and probably, but maybe not.
Well, I mean, if you had a bunch of people up front where they're worried about their cars, then yeah, nobody's willing to step up and go, "Oh, okay, I'll sacrifice scratching my car up for to push the car out of the way or whatever." But like me and my Jeep, I'd be the first one to like, yeah, let me go around here. I'll push it out of the way. Get out of the way.
And there are like, you see the doors along the way. There's like tunnel access for the workers and stuff. So I'm assuming that they would just evacuate people out those doors and, somewhere behind on the side that runs parallel to the tunnel that actually has oxygen in it.
And who knows where those go, though? I mean, do you have to walk? It might be quicker just to walk out the tunnel. I mean, those things might be some convoluted way that makes it even farther to get to fresh air, or who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe somebody can leave in the comments. Anybody that's ever worked for the transit authority that dealt with these tunnels or anything. What are those service?
It's definitely not something we have to worry about much here. That's for sure. You can't really make tunnels here; they just fill up with water.
Yeah, and again, not just the whole lack of oxygen, claustrophobia, all that stuff. What a fucking clusterfuck for your trip. Like, there's no going around it. You know what I mean? It's not just take the next exit. You got to wait for that to be dealt with before you can go through.
Yeah, maybe people
back up on an interstate.
Well, if you have to, you could. But I mean, everybody would have to back up. I mean, you'd basically have to have people get at the beginning of the tunnel saying, "Uh-oh, traffic stopped," and turning around there, and then have people backing up and turning around. But
and then they could reroute, take the other tunnel and make it one lane each way, and make you go like 15 miles an hour or something to get you through. But so apparently, 3 days ago, I just saw this on YouTube. These two deer. This is in Ohio. They're like chasing each other, and it's very cute, cavorting and prancing about on the campus of this high school. And then one of them just goes insane and jumps right through the glass door to the cafeteria and proceeds to run around the cafeteria. Kids are getting up on their desks. There's only a couple of kids in there, so it must not have been lunchtime or whatever. But when you watch the video, all I can think is they need to give a shout out to the janitor of this place, because this deer is completely incapable of getting its feet underneath it. The floor is so well waxed and so well polished that it just constantly wipes out every time it tries to stand up, to the point where eventually it just gives up and just lays down as if to say, look, either shoot me or get me out of here or something. But I failed. I can't do this on my own.
Hooves don't do well on linoleum, even if it isn't clean. They just, or marble or something like that. Yeah, not exactly designed for that surface. Yeah, you see them do that whenever they get into
opposite of watching footage of those goats that run straight up run up a cliff, like 60, 70 degrees, and they do it like they're just walking across the kitchen.
Yeah. Those things are crazy. But I was going to say, you see that same kind of slippage and spin out on the deer when they you see footage from them run through a grocery store or something like that, and they're just kind of slipping and sliding everywhere. Anyway,
his buddy did not follow him in. It was just one deer that went in, and the one that was chasing him was like, nah.
Yeah, see, that's what evolution is for. The one that went in the store should probably not survive. That's the one we should go ahead and put that one down and use it for food.
Let him go on to make more deer.
Exactly.
Most of the comments on the video were literally, if you believe them, from kids that go to that school that were like, I was there. That's my school. That was my friend on the table. And one of them was nice enough to point out, why didn't they just let us eat it? A lot of deer hunting in Ohio.
Well, I mean, it probably, you would have to, it might trash the place before it left. That's the problem. I mean, that's where a good guy with a lasso would come in handy, Where's the good old cowboy days where somebody with a lasso could just grab the thing and drag it out the door and then you're done. Let it go. No big deal. Good old roping. That's a trick some skill they should start teaching in school again.
So I got one more nugget.
Okay,
not nearly as good as the other three. This is actually a new Guinness World Record was set. And it was set in Australia. And apparently it was the most bagpipers performing. I don't know whether it's the most bagpipers performing together and I know it should have been Scotland, but when you hear what they were playing, you'll understand why. So apparently it was an homage to AC/DC, the song "It's a Long Way to the Top" if you want to rock and roll, in which Bon Scott played the pipes.
Right.
And so
right.
374 bagpipers got together to play that portion of the song, or even the whole song together. And I can't imagine how horrific.
I was going to say, I don't think there's enough earplugs in the world to stop that.
I'm not a big fan of that instrument in small doses, perhaps, but 370 something of them is too many.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that it's too many. I've worked at a couple of places like Irish pubs and whatnot that would have the pipers come in for St. Patty's Day. You know, even Flanagan's does that. And by the time they leave, I'm ready for them to leave.
Well, the thing is, you're experiencing like amateurish bagpipers. If you get the guys that are really good and a bunch of them together, they actually don't sound that bad. But when you get the guys that aren't quite in tune with each other, but truthfully, if you get guys that are good and get them all together, it can be pretty good and pretty inspiring. But yeah, that's a rough instrument to play exactly right and make it sound good. And there's so many instruments like that, like the banjo, another one. Like, if you don't play that just right, it just kind of sounds like, eef, God, what's that noise? People that just kind of strum them like it's a guitar or something. It's like, no, you're supposed to pick that thing, not,
Right. So I wonder if we had to rank them, what's the most annoying? Let's say your neighbor's kid is learning how to play an instrument. What's the worst instrument to live next to? Is it drums? Is it banjo? Is it bagpipe? What would you hate to hear the most coming through your window at night while you're trying to sleep?
I'm going to vote bagpipes myself, and only I always say that because I used to play outdoor racquetball out at the park on Belvedere Road there, and there was a guy that like the racquetball courts are relatively close to the entrance of the park. You could go a lot farther back in the park, and he would go to the back of the park, and I guess part of practicing the bagpipes is marching along while you do it, because you're supposed to be kind of like walking when you play in these songs. That's kind of the cadence of the song. So this guy would go to the back of the park and do that shit for hours, and it'd just be like, oh my Lord, is that annoying? For a while it's not so bad, but after like an hour, it's like, okay, that's enough of that, man. Jesus Christ, stop, please stop. But
no, I've never witnessed that. I've never had to subject myself to somebody learning how to play the bagpipes, or honestly any instrument really. But even listening to a band rehearse,
right?
If you're not in the band and you're not actively trying to learn the part, it's pretty irritating. Even if they're playing it well, there's something about just hearing the same portion of a song over and over and over again to where you want to scream, just play something else. Just keep going. Play the rest of the song.
Here's the thing. The question you ask has two aspects to it. There's like, what instrument just naturally sounds the worst? Or the question you posed specifically makes me think of what instrument sounds the worst from somebody learning how to play it. And that
is what I meant.
In that case, the violin itself is pretty bad. Have you ever heard anybody trying to learn? I mean, there's a lot of instruments that just sound god awful. The oboe or the clarinet, or some of these instruments, when you're first learning how to play them, they just sound bad.
I think most people go to the easy go-to answer is drums.
Yeah, but drums are just drums.
Now that they have electronic drum kits, I think it's easier you can practice without being quite so loud to everybody else.
I had an electronic drum set, and I would crank those things up at 2 a.m. because you could just put on headphones and all you can hear is the little clickies of the sticks if you don't have the headphones on. Like,
right.
That's it.
We when we did the episode with Scott, you may have noticed his music room / studio with the full drum kit and everything behind him. And when he's playing the drums, you can definitely hear it a couple of houses away for sure.
Well, and that depends on a lot of things. First of all, it depends on how soundproof your house is. Depends on, like, you can actually deaden drums a lot and make them not quite as loud. You can, use like ring things and just do all kinds of tricks to make them a lot deader and not be quite so loud. But yeah, drums are drums. No matter whether you're learning or you're playing, well, when you're learning, you don't play as well, but the drum still sounds the same when you hit it. It's not like a violin when you're not hitting the note right and you're like off by it's like, oh God, no.
It sounds like a cat dying.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a cat and a pair of pliers. What it ends up sounding like. Yeah, it's not good. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is what are you going to do with your pennies now?
Right? Is it finally legal to melt them down?
I don't know.
All the new ones are made of zinc anyway, but the old ones still got copper at them.
No. Even the new pennies, that's copper around the outside. They still have copper, just not as much as a real, a copper penny. But that was the debate. Is it like, do you just cash them all in, or do you actually try to save them up and melt them down? Because I don't know if it is legal. And first of all, nobody. Are you going to melt them down? Do you have a little forge thing that you can melt down the copper into little ingots or whatever and sell to whoever you want?
I mean, most crucibles are pretty small. You would have to do 1 million batches to get through any substantial amount of pennies, unless you're taking them to some industrial smelter or something. But most, forges that people have in their homes or their garages or their backyards, guys that make knives and stuff like that.
Right.
Even the ones that do use crucible and make crucible steel, they're very small. You're not going to get that many pennies in there.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to have. Yeah, if you went with something like an old style blacksmith shop with one of the big bellows, you could melt a big giant, box or cauldron of them at once and just pour them into molds and make them into little ingots or whatever. And then how does that work? No
idea what they would charge you to use that area and the services and their expertise and everything. It's like,
and that's quite a bit of work.
You can shoot a deer and it's free meat, but you got to pay somebody unless you know how to process that thing. Clean it and turn it into sausages and cuts and all that, and then throw it in your freezer. So, or the same with people that like to buy a half of a cow or split a cow with a neighbor. 2 families split it. You still have to pay the processing fees, which usually come out to be quite a bit. The big advantage to that, of course, is that all of your hamburger came from this cow, as opposed to 30 or 40 different cows that all got thrown into the grinder together. And, so
true.
I'm sure it's a more higher quality and probably more consistent flavor throughout the whole product.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You've seen what they make hamburger out of, right?
Yeah.
Well, did you ever work in the back of like something like The Gathering where there was like a meat cutter and they made their own hamburger and that kind of thing?
Yeah, in fact, I worked at Roadhouse Grill that had its own on-site butcher that they would get halves or quarter steers and they'd butcher them in that. It was a room within the walk-in, like a separate room.
And I'm sure they made their own hamburger, right?
One of the guys that worked there one day told me, he goes, I could take somebody in there and walk out by myself. Implying, of course, that, the grinders, the drain, everything. You could.
Oh, yeah.
You absolutely could take somebody in there and walk out by yourself. So
obviously they made their own hamburger, and I'm sure it was probably better than normal, like grocery store hamburger, right?
Yeah. Well, I have, if I'm feeling particularly bougie, and I haven't done this in a long time, but, I used to, especially when I was with Mary Ann, because we had more money than we needed at the time and were stupid about it. But I would go to the butcher at Publix or something like that and pick out a really nice steak and then say, here, turn this into hamburger. And they grind it and give it back to you.
Well, see, that would come out too lean, wouldn't it? Or I guess maybe you want it lean.
What steak you pick.
What's that?
If you get a ribeye, no, you're good. There's plenty of marbling and fat.
Oh, yeah, that's true. With a ribeye, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Now, if you do a filet or a New York strip, yes, it's going to be too lean.
Right. Yeah, because
you could add fat or suet if you wanted to, but I never did that.
Right, and that's the big thing about hamburgers. It's like only so much of it is meat. The rest of it is like fat, the connective tissue, and all that other stuff that really is edible and quite delicious. When you grill it up. But
when I was young, I don't remember ever seeing. I always remember ground chuck was the fattiest ground beef option always. Right, that's what I always remember it being that way, and it was always 80-20. And then after that, they were leaner. There was an 85-15, a 90-10. And a 93.7, like 93% and 7% fat. Within the last couple of years, I've noticed that grocery stores now sell something that they just call ground beef. Now, maybe this existed before and I just wasn't aware of it, but it's like 73% beef, 27% fat. And I'm curious, at what point are you just selling sausage? Like 27% fat in ground meat is got to be approaching the level of what you would add to sausage meat to make it. Like, I'm not sure where that cutoff is.
I was going to say,
I research on it, but my point is they're selling fattier ground beef now than I've ever seen in my life. And I'm wondering if it has always existed and I just didn't notice it, or whether it's something new that because it's all some people can afford.
I didn't know there was a distinction between sausage and ground beef. I thought it's all just ground up stuff. I didn't know there was like
No, there's
levels
somewhere
of
there's a
fat
cutoff line of the fat percentage is what makes it, and I don't know what it is, but it's much the same as there's a cutoff point between whole milk, skim milk, half and half, and heavy cream is the percentage of fat.
Oh yeah,
I'm convinced to this day that the reason Dunkin' Donuts coffee tastes so good is because the half and half that they use, I believe, has maybe 2 or 3% more buttercream, butter fat, than typical half and half from the grocery store.
right. It could.
I have never gotten half and half from any grocery store, whether it's Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Publix, Walmart, Kroger's, you name it, bougiest brand, store brand, whatever. It's never as luxurious and as creamy as the stuff they sell at Dunkin'. And when I lived down in West Palm on El Prado, there was a Dunkin' by my house that I had made a sweetheart arrangements with somehow with the manager, made friends with her, and they would sell me half gallons of their creamer. But I can't get anybody here in Gainesville to do it. So stuck with the store-bought.
And you remember when I used to drink that French vanilla stuff all the time? Apparently you can like make that same, because that stuff that you buy from like Carnation or whatever, wherever you get it from, that stuff's horrible for you. It's like, it's not even dairy. You can leave that stuff out in room temperature. It don't even go bad. But apparently you can make something just like that out of really healthy, natural stuff. Like,
yeah, all you would need is half and half and vanilla beans.
No, like really healthy stuff. Like, I don't know. I forget what it said. But anyway, but I mean, yeah, I thought you drink black coffee sometime, don't you?
No, you're thinking of my dad. I could never do it.
I don't know. I thought, that's right. No, you always put stuff in your coffee. See, that's
in fact, I asked him one day why. I'm like, why do you drink it this way? Are you just trying to punish yourself? You can't honestly expect me to believe that it tastes better this way. And he admitted it does not taste better this way, but here was his issue. He worked for IBM and he got all flown around everywhere, all over the world for so many years for business trips. He said, I never knew what I was going to get. Some places would have sugar. Some places would have Splenda. Some places would have sweet and low. Some places would have cream. Some would only have the powdered cream. Some would have this. Some would have that. He goes, and I could never get the same cup of coffee anywhere. He goes, so I just started drinking it black because it always tastes the same.
At least it would be the same.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to enjoy it. It's going to be bitter,
like it,
but at least it'll be bitter and unenjoyable the same way everywhere I go. Like, I don't agree with that mindset, but that is the explanation he gave me as to why he drank black coffee.
Dude, that's just a different generation, man, or something. I don't know. That people back then just thought differently, man. I would never be like, yeah, no, it's going to be the same. Even though I don't like it, it'll be the same. That's insane.
He did a lot of trips to China and India, and I must say that he really changed. It really changed him as a person.
Oh, I'm sure.
Going to those places, like he was a much kinder and a more understanding and more more left-leaning as far as poverty and homeless people and things like that. The things he saw were so atrocious, and the way he was treated, so much better than the people he talked about going to India, and apparently with IBM, everybody that got off the plane were all greeted with the, holding up the placards with their name. They went out, they got into limos, drove past people begging on the street, pulling themselves around on carts, kids begging for money, people with missing arms and legs and stuff, straight to the hotel to a buffet where it was just the most wasteful amount of prime rib and all this Western decadent food and everything. And right outside the building, 2 blocks in any direction, are people with distended stomachs and their ribs are showing, and just hideous poverty next to such ridiculous wealth. And it's not that he wasn't unaware of wealth inequality before, but he'd never been slapped in the face with it like that,
Yeah.
And his reviews of China were always, the first time he went, I asked him, because, I love Asian food. And I was like, hey, man, what'd you try? He goes, you don't know what Chinese food is. You've never had real Chinese food. Right. And if you did, you wouldn't want it. So apparently, according to him, every time he went to China, all he could safely eat was rice, white rice, soy sauce, if that's it. He said everything he ever tried to order that had any kind of sauce, it was, the way he described it, was slimy. It's like, he goes, have you ever had okra, not fried, but like stewed? That mucilaginous, gelatinous type of texture apparently is a very popular texture in China. And of course, most of their Americanized versions of these dishes have been westernized for our palate and get that texture out of there. But he's like, yeah, it's just disgusting.
I hear the same thing about Mexican food.
Can't eat it.
Yeah, I hear the same thing about Mexican food. Like if you go to Mexico, the food's not very good there. It's just kind of weird and gamey and scary. And
I have only been once, and it was so long ago. I was literally in 9th grade. So this was in like 1984, probably 1985, something like that. And it was my first year in high school, and the junior high that I went to before, which was Coniston Junior High, had a really cool Spanish teacher named Mrs. Provenzano. And they organized this big trip to go to the Yucatan to look at all the Mayan ruins and everything. And I couldn't go in 8th grade. My mom didn't have the money, whatever, couldn't get it together and make it happen. She offered me it when I was in 9th grade, even though I wasn't at the school anymore. If you want to go this year, you can. So not only did I get to go, but I got to be the oldest person amongst all the kids by 1 year, which was kind of cool. Yeah. And I had a really good time. I bring it up because I had been very careful. I'd been warned about don't drink the water, don't do, make sure you drink bottled this, cans of soda, open them yourself, blah, blah, blah. I was great until one day I made a terrible mistake and asked for a lemonade, not thinking that the lemonade was probably made on site with the local water. And I got the Montezuma's revenge for like the last 3 or 4 days of the trip. I just spent the entire time in the hotel puking and shitting. It was horrible, just horrible.
Damn.
That's also when I learned that apparently in Mexico, they're not that strict on legal drinking age. If you're tall enough, you walk up to the bar with confidence, they just give it to you. So at 14, I drank several cocktails on that trip from the bar at the hotel.
Hey, while we're on Mexico,
I really shouldn't have because I was sick anyway, but like everybody else had left to go do fun things. I'm stuck at the hotel by myself. And I just went down to the lounge and got myself a drink.
Oh, there you go. Have you seen what's going on in Mexico right now?
Against all the gringo tourism?
No. There's
something else.
They're protesting against the president. Apparently, they're. It's kind of like, I guess it's young people protesting violently against the president because they think the president has been bought by the cartels, which I'm sure is true. But I mean, they're like erecting like these metal walls around the presidential palace and stuff like that. It's going down in Mexico right now. There's shit going down. They're not fucking around.
The cartels have always enjoyed a rather favorable relationship with politicians in Mexico.
Here
for the
too.
simple reason that if the politicians don't play along, they die.
Yeah. Well, you know who started all the cartels is the CIA. They're all a creation of the CIA. Noriega. I just watched something about. They were talking about Bush Sr. and the fact that he and Noriega and all these people, the whole thing is all created by the CIA and us. When they say, oh, those cartels, well, guess what? Those cartels are us. We created them. We run them. It's us.
The amount of intervention that the United States has done to both Central and South America is unparalleled anywhere else in the world, which doesn't surprise anybody. I mean, it's our backyard. So
well, I wouldn't say it's unparalleled. I think they do the same shit at other places, but you're right. It's quite excessive. There's no doubt about that. Speaking of which, did you see the head of ISIS guy in the White House?
No, I think you told me about this before, though, right? Sitting down and shaking hands with the General Petraeus.
Yeah, that before he was just sitting down with the general. He now has gone to the White House, has been in the White House and shook Trump's hand. And Trump is like, oh, yeah, nice to see you, buddy. But here's the thing I wanted to talk about is they made a big deal about this because they thought it was quirky and funny. And I'm on the other side. I'm thinking James Bond shit myself. But at one point, Trump walks up to this guy with a bottle of perfume and sprays the perfume on him. Now, first of all, there's, the obvious, I guess.
All right. There's so many problems with that statement that you just made.
Yeah.
First of all, it is completely inappropriate for any man to spray perfume on any other man ever. The only time I've ever had perfume sprayed at me was walking through a mall or walking in front of a Sephora and some super zealous and overeager salesperson trying to trick, and that pisses me off. You don't spray anything at me or on me. Having another man do it in a non-professional setting like that is bizarre. I can only assume that he's implying that you reek, that you have horrible body odor, and that therefore you need to be sprayed with something.
That's the obvious surface thing that, like, yeah, okay, that was a really bad joke. But, dude, in my James Bond mind, I'm like, he tagged him with something. He put like some kind of fucking, spike protein that gets absorbed through the skin or something.
Sort of nanoparticle or something.
I'm telling you, man, he's got some kind of fucking DNA marker on that guy now where they can trace him or do whatever they want to him or something. I'm telling you, that whole thing.
Even if that's not true, everything else about it it's just, you don't spray perfume on a man.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could say, well, it's just Trump being Trump because he does do just bizarre, crazy shit like that. But at the same time, what better excuse to be like, hey, spray this perfume on this guy. It's got this.
I mean, the only time, like I said, aside from somebody trying to sell perfume, the only scenario I've ever seen that in is usually a video on some sort of public transportation where some guy is sitting down and the person standing there holding the whatever next to them reeks so bad that he just casually hits him with a little Banaka blast or whatever he's got, anything so that he's not just smelling ass crack while he's sitting there the whole time.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking James Bond level shit here, man. They put something on that guy. Or it could just be, who knows? Could be just Trump being the fucking idiot that he is. I mean, he is.
I have seen and smelled some horrible things on buses in Palm Beach County. Oh, sure. And I can only imagine that big cities are a million times worse. I've never used public transportation in any of the big cities. But I mean, I've been next to people on the bus that clearly have or did shit their pants. Like, there's just no way that was a fart. It's just, you got to get off the next exit and wait for the next bus. It's just unbearable regardless. Oh, God. Yeah, it's hideous.
You've definitely done it more than me. I've ridden feet
that look like they've walked 1,000 miles barefoot, all cracked open and just nasty toes and just, oh God.
Yeah. I've never really. So you rode the bus down here. That's the thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for years I didn't have a car down there. I lived right there on near Dixie Highway. So I had access to basically everywhere I went was either City Place or Lake Worth Beach or in between those two. And so I could catch a bus or ride straight. It was very convenient. They ran, every 45 minutes, air conditioned. It's just, they're sketchy and there were,
Yeah, that's true.
Crazy, insane people on there sometimes.
So Trump is going crazy about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, the Massey Greene ticket in 2028 is looking golden at this point. And basically, all they have to do is Trump's writing their campaign ads right now all over Truth Social. He's posting all the campaign ads they'll ever need to run for 2028.
But do you think they would be able to get the GOP nomination and run as Republicans, or are they going to have to run as independents or something else?
That is a good question, because the GOP, just like the Democratic side, is just completely shambles, completely split. I mean, you got your Zionists on one side and you got your non-Zionists on the other. Yeah, it's a total meltdown on both sides. I'm
sure Vance assumes that he's going to be their pick.
I don't know, man. Well, I mean, I'm sure. Well, here's the thing. The people that run things, Peter Thiel, wants him to be the pick. So whether he'll get his way or not is depending on whether. See, the thing is, before nowadays, it didn't used to be you could go, oh, well, Rumsfeld wants Bush. So that's, even though people kind of knew that, nobody can just come out and say, Peter Thiel wants J.D. Vance. He paid for him to be vice president. He clearly will pay even more to have him become president. But do we want that? That's the question, posed to democracy at this point. Which, it
does feel like that they're more likely nowadays, it seems like, to say the quiet part out loud. They do it a lot,
yeah.
But yes.
Well, I mean, there's no hiding it
understood
anymore.
Or now just blatantly said.
And I mean, I don't see, the thing is, I don't really know. And I think J.D. Vance may be doing this on purpose, but I don't know I'm not sure which side of the split in the Republican Party he really comes down on. I mean, he was in Israel and got basically embarrassed by Netanyahu saying, like, yeah, we're not going to listen to America. or whatever he said in that speech that J.D. Vance came out and said, yeah, that's kind of weird. Oh, yeah, basically that he's saying, yeah, we're going to take the West Bank, even though Trump
was also vehemently opposed to Donald Trump before he was picked to be VP, and then quickly changed his tune about that, too. So
true, and he could change back in a heartbeat, I'm sure. But, I wouldn't vote for that guy. He's bought and paid for by, you're basically voting for Peter Thiel. If you vote for him, you're voting for Peter Thiel as president. So I don't want that. I don't like that guy. I don't trust that guy. I don't even like the way he looks, dude. He looks like a Nazi. I mean, literally, if you were going to cast a Nazi, like, fucking concentration camp guard, you got Stephen Miller, you got Peter Thiel, you got that Andreessen guy that talks like a lizard. They said,
it's not a good look.
No, I mean, you couldn't cast any better guys that would play horrific Nazis.
So you're short. You're short with you and Reverend Jim. The last time I looked this morning was like almost 1,200 views.
No kidding. Holy, but Jesus. Yeah. That's insane.
2 days.
Yeah, we just discovered shorts. I didn't. Who knew? And you haven't put any more out though. Have you not found any other good ones?
Well, I looked for some, and some of them weren't that good. And also, I didn't want to. Scott pointed out to me that people that are subscribed don't want to hear the notification bell, ding, 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 ding.
Oh, right. Yeah, so you just you're gonna just scroll them out. Right.
But my counter argument to that is that we have like 55 subscribers. If you got 1,200 views of that thing, clearly those are not subscribers that are watching. I don't know how the algorithm chooses which shorts to put out there or not, but.
Yeah, he's got a good point, though.
It's over 600 or 700 now. And then the one in the middle there it's only about 100. But the one that you and Reverend Jim is like 1,200 at this point.
Well, it is kind of funny. That is kind of a funny little clip. But, that's, who knew? Who knew we had those things going the whole time? This is just such a learning process for us. We'll have this figured out by the time we get something going on.
And to the best of my knowledge, they are chosen by just whatever AI is using to determine who talks right now. I don't think that it's you can ask Ryan today.
Oh, yeah, I will, as a matter of fact. That's a good idea. I'll have to ask him at the end. That's wild. Yeah, I think I've got to learn how to edit. I think that's one of the bullets that I've got to bite. I've got to learn how to take this stuff and edit stuff together, because I think I could do a lot of crazy shit if I knew how to edit stuff together anyway. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to talk about is, all right, so I don't know if you remember, but during the Biden administration, when there were people just flowing over the border, a lot of people went down there and were asking people as they came in, where are you from? Where are you from? And I'm going to say, from what I saw, a large number of these people came from Venezuela, the country we're about to invade and take over for their oil. Now, they're trying to say that all these people were drug dealers. They're trying to say that Venezuela basically emptied their jails of drug dealers and sent them all here. To which I would say, hey, we just inherited a whole new class of entrepreneurs. I mean, these are people trying to make money. I got nothing against any of these people. They're just trying to make a living. They're trying to make money. They're in it, if it's blackmail or free market, what's the difference? These are people looking to start small businesses. I welcome them. Stay here. Get your green cards and start. We need more mom and pop shops. We need more of them. I don't get this. Oh, we got to deport them all. Forget you. Let's deport the lazy people on Snap and keep the Venezuelans. How about that?
I just watched a video the other day about Cuba and their government and, holding out, being one of the last communist countries holding out now that they don't have the Soviet, USSR to back them and whatnot. And part of the video that I watched included a weird factoid I just thought of when you said Venezuela. They were talking about when the most Cubans, the largest periods of migration. And of course, they talked about the Mariel boat lifts in the early 80s, in 1980 particular. But then they said that recently Venezuela had loosened their policies on Cubans arriving into their country. So apparently weren't allowing Cubans, or they're allowing more Cubans in. And so that a lot of the people that are coming from Venezuela, a surprising number of them were Cubans, that instead of trying to get on a boat and make it to Florida, instead they went to Venezuela somewhat legally and then left Venezuela and went north and then crossed the border, through Texas.
Oh, and then claim they're Venezuelans, you think?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. That's an interesting thought. And then when you say lost Russian backing, what do you mean? Like they're still kind of backed by. I mean, they don't get as much money,
but it's not like it was when it was the USSR, when they had the full Soviet regime behind them and all of those satellite countries that left, after the Berlin Wall came down and they broke apart in 92. So they had more funding back then. Also, the USSR was subsidizing their sugarcane industry by paying them 7 times the going rate for their sugar, which is the only reason they were able to sell it.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But then they were turning around and using all that money to buy Soviet medicine and weapons. So
right. I wonder why Putin doesn't do that now and kind of come back and fund them. And I mean, I guess it's not really worth it to them. I don't know. They don't really need anything from Cuba, I guess, other than it being strategically close to here. If they can't put missiles or troops or anything, it's not really that worth anything.
And we all know how that went the last time they had put missiles there. Damn near caused World War III.
Right. I'm sure they got plenty of spies. As a matter of fact, I bet you that's probably what that whole you know what the Havana syndrome is, right?
I've heard it.
It's the thing where they apparently something happened to the American embassy in Savannah for like days. It was bombarded with like some kind of weird hum or something, and it was making people sick and like really fucked people up really bad, like gave them headaches for weeks. And it was some kind of, they determined that it was some kind of basically an attack of some unconventional weapon that basically, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like some kind of
there's a YouTuber named Ben
weapon.
Jordan that did a good video on that, and he does a lot of videos on sonic weapons and
So I'm sure that was Russia, doing that. I'm sure the Cubans don't have anything to do with that.
He's got a really interesting set of videos too about how different animals hear the world, and it's pretty interesting that to hear the way our speech sounds to a dog versus a cat versus a bird, because they pick up on different auditory wavelengths and their brain processes things differently. So we don't sound like, just like we don't sound the same. The sound you hear of your voice in your head isn't how you sound to the world.
Absolutely right.
You being a musician are more aware of that than most people, but your average Joe doesn't really understand. And they just assume that's how I sound, but that's just how you sound resonating within your own skull.
And here's the funny thing is nobody hears things exactly the same either. Like if we could somehow magically switch ears, like I could take my ear out and give it to you and we'd be like, oh, wow, that's what you hear? It would sound completely different from anything. So let alone from species to species, even from just individuals, what you actually hear, it could be completely different from what somebody else hears. And speaking of species,
vision is the same way. Certain animals can see certain wavelengths that we don't. Insects, bees see flowers completely differently than we do.
Yeah, and when you just stick into the sound part of it, like elephants hear like a lot of the lower frequencies that we can't hear. Like elephants, they think communicate for miles and miles while just thumping their foot on the ground. That's apparently some communication to some elephant 20 miles away.
It's
boom,
called
boom means
infrasound, and it's sound waves below a certain frequency that humans cannot hear, and the elephants can. Infrasound, and again, referencing Ben Jordan, he did a video on this too, but a lot of places and locations where people claim to have felt an entity, or it's a chilling, they have a feeling of unease or discomfort in a certain area. It's because of infrasound. It creates a feeling of doom and dread in a human. And obviously there are certain man-made things, airports and what like that, certain rumblings that can create infrasound, but the earth is completely capable of doing it on its own too.
Right. And then not only do sound frequencies do that, I think there's also certain light frequencies that we may or may not detect that probably do the same thing, make you feel funny. And that's what that weapon in Havana may have been, is something that combines the two or uses one of the two or something. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah.
There's a guy that I just watched who put up a video where he used, I don't know what the type of equipment this is, but it's called an oscilloscope, and he modified it.
Oh, yeah.
So that he could get 2 billion, with a B, 2 billion frames per second. And then he used this he turned a laser on and bounced it off of mirrors, and you can see the actual light moving through the air. It's insane. You can see the light travel to the mirror, bounce off the mirror, come back, and it's happening so fast. But at 2 billion frames per second, you can even see this. But he's actually capturing the speed of light on camera.
What's the oscilloscope got to do with it?
That's what he was using instead of a camera. Apparently, he couldn't get a camera capable of doing it, so he modified whatever. I don't know what an oscilloscope normally measures, but that's what.
Well, an oscilloscope is just an electric thing it shows you run an electric pulse and it shows you the wave. I'm trying to figure out how he would do something like that. So I'm assuming
I'll put a link to it in the description. So
I'd be interested to watch. Not only that, because I think what he's using because basically what you're doing when you're taking a photograph, if you're taking a photograph of something very quickly, what you're doing is you're just opening and closing the lens very quickly. So maybe he's using the oscilloscope to run something that's opening and closing a lens or something. That's the only way I could really make any sense. Because
it's definitely not opening and closing mechanically 2 billion times a second. There's some sort of software going on that he's using.
Oh, I see. Oh, wow. Wow, yeah, I'd like to see how he did that. That's an interesting concept.
It's a long video. He goes into a lot of technical jargon, which I did not understand whatsoever.
Sure, yeah.
Really, the main word I pulled out of it is 2 billion and oscilloscope. And other than that, I'm kind of just stumbling my way through the description of it.
Well beyond our pay grade. Well beyond our pay grade. And here I am trying to think of a way for AI to write a song using just the information on my Facebook page. Can you think AI can do that, or does it have to use everything?
You could tell it to limit itself to just that. I would think that would be what you come up with, but
all right. So that's a challenge to any of our listeners that use AI. Have AI write a song about my Facebook page. I'd like to see how it comes out. It's going to be some fucking weird Rage Against the Machine kind of thing. It's just something I would think.
Guess I'll have to include a link to your Facebook page then in the description as well.
That. I don't want to scare everybody off. Don't do that.
Those that are truly interested can do the research and figure it out.
Right. All right. So I don't know. I'm forgetting what I wrote this down for, but Tim Dillon was ranting about how $4,400 a month for a one bedroom is outrageous in New York. And I don't know. I guess my comment is wait till the HOAs get done with it. There's going to be even more. I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that.
He did a full-blown rant about New York real estate. I think most of his point was how much of it, I believe he said it was 37%, or 27% or 37% is owned by trusts and basically owned by foreign nationals that don't live there and don't rent them out and just keep them because it's a way for them to hide their money or hide their assets. In American real estate is much safer for them to put their money into than, like, say, a bank in China or somewhere in the Middle East.
Huh. Well,
and buy these places using shell corporations so that nobody really knows who owns them.
Yeah, but apparently aren't the values in New York going in the tank because they elected Mandami? So those guys should be
getting yet, but I mean, it's not like these people just bought this property. This has been going on for a long time. But
well, they might be getting ready to sell now if the prices go in the shitter. I mean, prices are certainly coming down here. Definitely rent prices, probably, and certainly definitely some property prices, but only in certain areas, not in the good areas yet. Which is funny, dude. I saw a place. All right. Oh, by the way, that ad I showed you on Facebook, I looked at it and I'm like, there's probably 99% chance that's just a scam. And what they want to do is they want you to inquire about that place, and then they go, oh no, that's rented out. But here we're going to start sending you, and I'll be getting more MLS junk that I already get. So it's like, yeah, no, that's not going to. But dude, for like a house like that in that close to that neighborhood, actually I think it was listed as Boca. But they're asking like $7 million. Yeah.
For a 3-2?
Yeah. In like Boca.
Oh my.
I mean, I think it had a pool, but other than that, it was like,
And
yeah, it's like this disparity is so like, who the hell is gonna? You could get that same house probably for, I don't know, 450, 500, 550 or something like that. Who the hell's gonna pay $7 million for the? I mean, it was in a good.
The average apartment that is sold in New York, in the city, in the 5 boroughs, averages out to be like just a little under 2 million, like 1.8 million, the average price for just apartments. And that is not even a house.
Right. And I assume all of those got to have some kind of HOA or governing board or something if it's in a communal building. So you don't really even own it. You're paying out the ass for some kind of monthly fee for them to run it and take care of it and do all that kind of stuff.
Somebody's got to pay the doorman. Somebody's got to,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, not all of them have doormen, but, they all got an elevator. Somebody's got to fix the elevator.
Well, I'm thinking at the 2 million, you're probably looking at places with doormen, I would hope.
Not necessarily. I don't know. I don't think so. I think 2 million is just your basic like a downtown condo. Like downtown West Palm Beach. How many of those places have doormen? I mean, they have somebody inside, maybe at a desk, like a security desk, but they don't have guys standing outside. Well, of course, this is Florida, so that doesn't really work. But there are, I think there is 1 or 2, I think, that have like a valet / door guy.
Speaking of standing outside, not working in Florida, the dispensary I go to most often here in Gainesville is downtown. It's called Certera. They've got great product and fairly good prices. Right. And they eventually, just recently, in fact, within the last like 3 months, have hired a security guard. And he's never, in the beginning, he was out front. He's never out. I went there today. He's inside just chatting with the staff. And it's not even hot outside. Nice but like he's not outside. He's inside. That outside patrolling the door only lasted about 2 weeks, I think.
Well, in the summer, I get it, but now it's nice. He might as well be outside now, but I'm sure he's lonely out there. I mean, if he can stay inside and have somebody to talk to at least or interact with. But why would they, I mean, what, are they afraid somebody's going to come rob them?
That's the question I asked them because,
it's
again, I've been going there for a couple of years and they didn't have one for, first 2 years I went there. And I said, what happened? And they wouldn't tell me. The manager goes, well, we're just trying to control what we can control, what we can or something. And I'm like, well, that's a non-answer. Like, you didn't just put this guy on payroll because you felt like it. Like, clearly something happened. I don't know what it was, whether somebody got mugged or maybe somebody just complained, because there is a fairly solid core of guys that kind of hang out in front of the place. There's like one guy, really? The older dude in a wheelchair, who's kind of the ringleader, who I've made friends with. And then there's a few lackeys that he has that patrol around. And I mean, it's a genius place to set up. People are very generous when they're walking out of a dispensary. I see people giving them money all the time.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But I mean, do you pay cash there, or they take credit cards?
They won't take a credit card, but they will take a debit card. But here's the thing: anytime you use your debit card there, the way their ATM, like when you use an ATM and they charge you a fee to use the ATM, they charge you a fee to use a debit card there too. But then they give it back to you in like change. So every time you go there and use a debit card, you end up getting $2 to $4 back. Singles.
Interesting.
Almost every single time. It's like $2, $3, $4.
That's
so you're
why
always
the guys
walking
there
out of there with a couple of dollars.
Yeah, that's why the guys there, they have a lot of cash on the premises. So they're just worried about somebody coming in and robbing the place. But
yeah, but I mean, all of them have a lot of cash on the premises, and I don't see armed guards at any of the other ones. And there's
other ones, they probably have
20 of them in Gainesville.
Other ones probably have like a safe room or something like that. If somebody comes in, just everybody run in this room, shut the door, and he can't get in or something like that.
I will say this one is in a more of a sketchy neighborhood, I guess.
Right.
That it really exists. I mean, there's still a lot of businesses around there and kids, and it's still very, safe. I mean, compared to South Florida standards, it's laughable. That anybody would think they needed an armed security guard there. It's pretty safe.
I wonder if any point, if they actually decriminalize it nationally, end the drug war on at least weed or whatever, and make it a national thing where it's not illegal, if you could start getting it at like CVS and Walgreens, if they would start marketing it too. Because I
know that they tried to open a couple of years ago, they tried to open a dispensary here right next to us, like in the same plaza as a Circle K gas station. and the city voted against it and struck it down. And you're not allowed to have a dispensary here that's part of another building. Like it has to be its own standalone business.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you can be in a strip mall, but you can't be like attached to a gas station. But Gainesville has some weird rules about things like that. Like there's no strip clubs in Gainesville.
Oh, no. I was going to say that must be a local thing.
You got to leave Gainesville to see it. And then they claim it's, because they don't want college girls dancing. Of course, they're just going to go to the very next county over and do it anyway. But
yeah, it's stupid. Yeah.
And, I've driven around on Halloween and, on days where there's shit going on down by the school. And the stuff these girls wear walking around outside in public is damn near what you see at a strip club. Like it's pretty brazen.
Yeah, it's, morality police, thought police, morality police, victimless crimes, more laws that, there ought to be a law. No, there shouldn't. No, there should not be any more laws. We have too many laws about stupid shit that you have no control over. Anyway, the funny thing I was thinking the other day is like, why is it every time I look down a rabbit hole, I see Kurt Metzger looking back at me? He's always already down there, already can tell you exactly what's going on. I mean, literally, that guy must just spend 24/7 just dealing with these weird, wild conspiracy shit. Because literally every rabbit hole you ever... And the other guy, Sam Tripoli, he's another one. Like any conspiracy theory you look into, he's already there. He's already dug. He can tell you all about it, tell you all the players, everything, all the history. This is where it started. This is how it's amazing. That's a new phenomenon, right? Is there always been like go-to conspiracy guys that like, oh yeah, this guy always knows everything about all conspiracies?
I don't think so. And I think that if there were, it was more like one guy might know about one type of conspiracy.
Yeah, more compartmentalized.
And the reason you knew he was an expert on is because he got a book published that he wrote about it, But now the information travels so fast with the internet that it is way easier to be a jack of all trades with the conspiracy theories.
Ian Carroll, that's another one of them.
Up on the freshest, newest info.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was talking about Ian Carroll last episode, and the thing I forgot to mention was that he is developing an app that basically will tell you can take your phone, I guess, go to the grocery store, scan whatever you want to buy, and it'll tell you where it came from, who's funding it, like if it's a corporation that's owned by BlackRock or State Street or whatever. And he's basically developing this app that'll tell you everything, and he's basically to be used as a tool to defund the oligarchy. Like, look, if you don't like these guys, stop giving them your money. Use this app. Bing, bing, bang. Don't buy it.
I think people are going to really become disabused by that when they realize that literally everything that they normally buy is owned by one or the other of these. Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's some things you can't substitute,
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
You like drinking coffee? Well, good luck growing it inside the United States. We've tried. Yeah, we could have. We would have.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, as much as I hate, big corporations and oligarchs and being a corporate shill, you and I are definitely, worshipers at the altar of Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, I buy a lot of Dunkin' Donut products, and I'm sure they're owned by BlackRock or State Street or one of those,
I'm very fond of them. Seven Brew is definitely coming up, though. I drove past it yet again today. This time I got lucky and I got stuck at the red light right there at the corner of 13th and 16th where they're building it. And they have an artist that's painting a mural on the concrete wall that runs along the outside of the property. And so because I was at the light, I rolled my window down and yelled out, "When are you opening?" Not that he's, foreman or anything and knows. And he's like, hopefully within 2 weeks.
Right.
So
and that's not
I'm
a big corporation,
to be able to
right?
do it before December.
And that's not a big corporation, right? They're just a homegrown kind of local.
No, it's a corporation for sure. I don't know how big it is, but they've definitely got, a lot of locations in a lot of states.
Yeah. The question is, does BlackRock own them yet or not? Is really but who knows? I mean, BlackRock's
so good. I don't think I could tear even if I did know BlackRock owned them.
Yeah, no, you're not going to stop buying. I get it. I get it. Hey, listen, I'm probably going to stop get some Chipotle on the way home. I had some Pollo Tropical last night. I'm guilty. I'm not innocent of not I'm sure all those people are all owned by. But like I say, their day is coming, man. I think the stock market took a hit the other day, and we're in the everything bubble right now, man. The bubble's got to pop. There's a real estate bubble. There's the debt bubble. There's the stock market bubble. Something's got to give. One of them's got to pop. And the problem is when one of them pops, the other two probably aren't far behind. So, I mean, '08 was the banking thing, and it was just one bubble. We get 2 or 3 of them or even more. Who knows what else it'll affect when they start the
I think
domino
the best
effect.
thing, if possible, to invest in from if you can, I don't know how you would go about doing it, but anything that you can make money off that generates electricity. The electricity is what's going to rule the future. It's so much of it is required for these AI farms.
Good point.
For all
That's
the
interesting.
power that they use, that it's the new petrodollar. It's going to be the electrodollar, regardless of how it's created. But it's this controlling the flow of electricity and the generation of electricity.
Well, like I say, as long as the real estate market crashes first, so I can buy a goddamn cheap house, I don't care what happens after that. All right. Well, with that,
they're doing all this AI, setting up these AI farms, meta farms in the Ohio River Valley Basin. And at first you'd think, why would they, what an odd place to try to create a new Silicon Valley. But what it really boils down to is they have so much water there, and they need the water for cooling. So they want access to one of the Great Lakes and then the Ohio River. And that's one of the reasons why they're building there.
Do you think they're taking into account all the flooding that also accompanies said river? And
yeah. They're definitely taking that into consideration. Yeah.
Probably got big sump pumps and stuff like that to pump it out of there.
Deep pockets.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Well, I mean, that just because they got deep pockets doesn't mean they're smart all the time. A lot of these rich fuckers are, they're certainly smart in certain aspects, but sometimes they do stupid shit. Like, I don't know why, but I just thought of that movie, Don't Look Up, at the end. That guy seemed pretty smart until not so much. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, speaking of which, whatever happened to that the spaceship that's coming to Earth? Atlas, whatever.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Kind of all of a sudden,
Atlas 2A or 3A, something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
It's supposed to be here now, and then all of a sudden it just kind of disappears out of the news, which goes like, oh, okay, so yeah. It's just a rock.
Another nothing burger, yeah.
Yeah, just a rock that was going to probably flew by us and they went like, okay, that was just a rock. All right, well, with that amount of disappointment, let's end the show, and we'll get ready for our next show with our guest to be a returning guest. We'll leave it as a surprise, but we definitely need more comments and calls on the number 904-549-9024.
That is correct. Like, comment, subscribe, and share.
And apparently what we need most is subscribe. People to subscribe.
That is what helps us out the most.
And more comments, although I haven't even checked the comments lately. I don't know if people could be commenting like crazy. I haven't even looked.
Yeah, we haven't had any on the shorts, by the way. No comments.
Oh, really? All those views and no comments. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that shorts thing, that's definitely going to get our... So listen, we got to be careful. We can't make any money, so we got to be careful with this stuff.
I think we're okay.
Yeah, right. Well, we can't make much money. We can make a little money, but not much. Anyway. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.